What is up, everyone? Happy Football Friday. Good to have the crew here. Introduce our newest co-host, Cole Plant. What's up, man?
Nothing much. What's up with you guys?
Like I said, dude, just living life.
To the fullest.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, we actually have some news today for once, and the first thing is pretty big, and I'll put that in breaking news because this popped up on ESPN. I got a notification yesterday about it, and I was like, holy shit. The U.S. Appeals Court ruled that college athletes may qualify as employees, and they're looking to come up with a test to differentiate. See, I didn't like their testing, though. To differentiate between students who play college sports for fun and those whose effort, quote, crosses the legal line into work, end quote. I hated that. I was like, bro, that is way too subjective. And I don't even know what factors you would be able to come up with. I mean, I think literally we just have to say Division One. If you're a Division One athlete, you can be an employee. I think anyone below Division One, I know they put in the work. They put in a lot of work, especially Division Two. I know Division Two is pretty much Division One, essentially. With there's a bunch of really good players there, but the money isn't there like it is in Division One. But just having them be employees to begin with is crazy. It's a line we haven't seen crossed ever, and we're finally here. Still moving forward. There's probably going to be a trial, but yeah, the justice system is not backing down anytime soon. It looks like.
That's a new one. I haven't heard about this until I saw it earlier today, and it was just something that I didn't necessarily agree with.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's been coming. Obviously, when we were in undergrad, Jimmy, I think was when the Northwestern football team filed their lawsuit.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, we've had multiple lawsuits since and NIL and whatnot. But yeah, I think it's coming, and I don't think the NCAA is going to win. I don't think they will. On to UFL news here. So we're going to have the UFL college draft next week on Wednesday, July 17th. So a couple rules for who is going to be in the draft pool. Players who were eligible for the 2024 NFL draft but weren't selected, any undrafted players. Teams are going to have the exclusive rights to those players that they select. There's 10 rounds. And they're going to have the rights to those players until the player either reports to the team or the team gives up their rights. Of course, just like the NFL draft, players have to be at least 3 years out of high school and exhausted or waived their college eligibility. And most importantly, for a lot of these guys, they will have a NFL out until December 31st, 2024. So that means they can play in the NFL if they get signed up until December 31st. And then after that, they have to solely start training for the UFL season. Draft order, the Memphis Showboats, they have the number 1 overall pick because of their win in Week 10 against the Houston Roughnecks. The Roughnecks, therefore, are second. The Renegades are third. My DC Defenders are fourth. Battlehawks fifth. Panthers sixth. Brahma 7, and the three-time champion, I should say, two-time USFL, and the inaugural UFL champion, Birmingham Stallions. They are your last selection of every round. A lot of good players. I know UFL guy there, or I guess PFN, James Larson's been tweeting out some players to watch in the college draft coming up. And I haven't known a lot of them, but the one guy I did know, I forget who it was, but I commented on it there. NFL news here. The Jaguars, fitting that we're talking the AFC South today. Jags edge rusher Josh Allen is Josh Allen no longer. He has changed his name to Joshua Hines Allen, and probably should have watched the video on it that he has, but I was not able to. So good thing though, we will not have the issue of Josh Allen versus Josh Allen when the Bills and the Jags play. So
I think he might have cut out a little bit, so in case our audience didn't hear, it was Joshua Hines Allen.
Yeah. The Commanders, they are bringing back their gold pants this season. So the franchise turned 92 this week, and these pants are what I am talking about right here.
Let's go, the piss pants.
They look nice. Well, here's with the new uniforms that they have now. I mean, I like it. I really don't. I don't know why. I can't remember. What are the pants were they wearing? I mean, I see this with the white jersey.
I think they were doing white pants before.
Oh, were they wearing white with the maroon?
White pants. Yeah, I think it was white with the maroon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I was like, dude, I literally cannot for the life of me.
Right there.
There you go. But yeah, Cole, we do a lot of fashion on this show, you know.
Yeah.
I respect it.
Big sport fashionistas over here.
Oh yeah, big time. And we actually have two to talk about today.
Ooh.
And I guess since we're doing the Commanders, we'll just hop on to the other one here. The Seahawks announced they are going to wear their 90s throwback unis Week 6 Thursday Night Football against the 49ers. And Jimmy, this is your game. This is your game.
It was Thanksgiving of last year where I was like, why don't both teams wear throwbacks?
Well, and the 49ers need to now. They need to.
Niners need to. They absolutely both should. I mean, what they wear that like lime green color at Thanksgiving? Was it that one, like the highlighter green?
I don't remember.
I think it was that, and I hate that color.
That was a long time ago, Jimmy. I don't know.
You just kind of have better memory, man. I remember.
Turned 28 now. It's not great.
It's all downhill from here.
Yeah. But yeah, I like the Seahawks throwbacks. I especially like the helmet, the silver helmet with the I don't know what neon kind of whatever that Seahawk is. But yeah. I know we talked about it last show, Jimmy, but former Panthers VP of Player Personnel, Adrian Wilson, we know why he has separated from the team now. He is facing 3 domestic violence charges. Intentional assault causing physical injury, damaging property between $250 and $2,000, and disorderly conduct, disruptive behavior, or fighting. So yeah. Not something that you're going to be able to keep your job with, having that over your head, more than likely.
Yeah. Good riddance.
Yeah. And then one signing to note, also, again, we're sticking with the AFC South. It's great that these teams just like join the news for us with the division. It's great. The Titans have a new player. They signed Seahawks safety Jamal Adams on a 1-year deal. We'll talk more about it probably during the team session for Tennessee, but I don't think it's going to have a big impact. What Jamal does have is his positional coach is coaching in Tennessee now. The coach that coached him in New York with his 2 Pro Bowl seasons in 2018 and 2019. So that's one thing he has going for him. I think probably the other thing is that the Tennessee defense had I would say a hole at safety, and he's going to get a good opportunity to fill it. So, yeah. Too bad our guy John isn't on today. He got ripped Jamal. I know he wasn't a fan of the trade to the Seahawks.
Yeah.
Cole, you got anything on Jamal?
I'll save it for the Titans part.
Okay.
I'll save it for the preview.
All right. Well, let's jump in, as I don't see anything football related on the X feed. So AFC South here. Starting off with your defending AFC South champion, Houston Texans, 10-7 last year. They really took the league by storm with C.J. Stroud. And just the youth of this team, crazy. D'Amico Ryans comes in as well. And they win division in year 1. Losses wise for Houston, it was an interesting offseason in Houston. They had a lot of turnover, but they added quite a ton. But we'll get to those. Losses wise, running back Devin Singletary signed with the Giants. They traded wide receiver Ben Skoranek to the Rams. Offensive tackle George Fant signed to the Seahawks. Offensive lineman Josh Jones to the Ravens. Defensive tackle Sheldon Rankins to the Bengals. Defensive tackle Tahir Tart to the Dolphins. They traded defensive tackle Malik Collins to the 49ers. Edge rusher Jonathan Greenard signed with your Vikings, Jimmy, as did linebacker Blake Cashman. Linebacker Denzel Perriman went to the Chargers, and punter Cameron Johnston went to my Steelers. Some big names, especially defensively. The exodus of the interior D-line was kind of crazy, as well as maybe losing their best pass rusher in Greenard. And then, like I said, Johnston's a beast at punter, but
yeah, I think they definitely expect a big jump from CJ Stroud's production in order to make up for the loss on defense. They really focused in on getting him more viable players on the offense. They continue to give him weapons, and that felt like the priority. And the draft kind of pointed to that too. They drafted a lot to get that defensive depth back. So, yeah, this is definitely a situation where they're looking at Stroud saying, "Let's hope what you did was not a fluke. We expect to be as good, if not better, than last year, and we're willing to sacrifice defensive talent to get you guys that make you look better, and hopefully elevates this team."
I think that the defense taking as big of a hit as it did, and if you look at it, CJ Stroud in games, not just off the box score. Did get a little lucky last year with throwing interceptions, and he should improve on his decision making going into year 2. But he had a lot of dropped interceptions, and no matter how much offense the Texans did put around them this offseason, if he's going to be still making those throws and defenses actually cash out on those mistakes, the Texans defense is going to end up hurting them in the long run to win another division title, I think.
Yeah, I do think this is one of the closer divisions, especially with what the other teams have done this year. Additions-wise, they traded for running back Joe Mixon, traded for wide receiver Stephon Diggs from the Bills, Mixon from the Bengals. They drafted offensive tackle Blake Fisher, second round, 59th overall. Signed defensive tackle Danico Autry from the Titans. Signed defensive tackle Mario Edwards Jr. from the Seahawks. Edge rusher Daniil Hunter from your Vikings, Jimmy. Linebacker Aziz Al-Shair from the Titans. Corner Jeff Okudah from the Falcons. Corner CJ Henderson from the Panthers. Corner Kamari Lassiter, drafted in the second round, 42nd. Safety Kalen Bullock, drafted in the third round, 78th overall. And they signed punter Tommy Townsend from the Chiefs. And like I said, I thought it was a really solid offseason. They filled everything that they lost. The D tackle wise, I thought was a negative transaction. Edge rush wise, they just swap Greenard for Hunter. And obviously the big additions of Mixon and Diggs for really low-end draft picks, I thought was crazy that value that Nick Caserio got on those two. And the influx of corners as well. Yet to see if they will actually work out. Okudah and Henderson have been not the greatest. They've had some really poor seasons. But I do think Lassiter is going to be good. Obviously, my Georgia Bulldog brother in there. And they badly need it. They need someone to step up opposite of Derek Stingley. So, anyone else thoughts on additions before we go to the schedule?
Not much. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you got it. I think the offensive line, looking at it, they lost a swing tackle in George Fant, but I believe with the 54th pick, somewhere along those lines, they drafted Blake Fisher out of Notre Dame. So he'll be able to fill in whether they play him at guard, because that interior offensive line was poor last year. Whether they do let him play out opposite of Laremy Tunsil at right tackle, I think he'll be a big help for that Texans offensive line to protect CJ Stroud a little more. But other than that, I see a similar team to last year.
Yeah, I think when it comes to the defensive backfield signings, guys like Okudah and Henderson, I think they're really gambling on them refinding the form that they were expected to find when they were drafted. I mean, Okudah was a third overall pick. CJ Henderson was also a first-round pick. So I think that you look at these signings and it's basically the Texans looking at both of these players and going, hey, here's your last chance. Like, you are highly touted prospects. You are first-round picks. Here's your chance to really find your spot. And if you don't, you're basically done. They still probably believe in their upside. And they have shown flashes in some ways. But yeah, it's definitely, I look at those signings and it's definitely the feeling of just, if it doesn't work out here, you're basically done.
More power to him with CJ Henderson. I thought I had high hopes for him in Carolina last year, and he was not that good. So, all right, to the schedule for Houston at the Colts, week 1, at home against the Bears on Sunday night, week 2. I think they can probably win the first 2. At the Vikings, I'm going to give them a loss, Jimmy. I'm going to give your Vikings a win that one. I don't know why. That just, I think They're going to go in super confident playing against a rookie quarterback, and or maybe Sammy,
Sam Dog.
maybe he will be there still, but whoever, I think they're going to be confident in that game, and I don't know why, I just think Minnesota can get that one. So 2-1. Think they'll beat Jacksonville at home. 3-1. 4-1. It's in Houston against Buffalo. Stephon Diggs is going to light Buffalo up.
Or is going to have a hissy fit on the sideline.
No, I think he's going to light them up. Revenge game for Stephon Diggs. 4-1 there. They'll beat the Patriots at New England. 5-1. They lose in Green Bay. So 5-2 there. I think the Colts is a tough team to predict without really knowing what AR-10 looks like, but AR-15, whatever it is. I don't remember his number. Whatever. But yeah, I'm gonna split them. I'm gonna give the loss there. So that's 5-3 to New York to play the Jets on Thursday night. Let's give them a win on that one. 6-3. They're gonna lose against the Lions on Sunday night. 6-4 at the Cowboys on Monday. That's a win. 7-4. They'll beat the Titans 8-4 in Jacksonville. I'm going to also split the Jags ones as well. So 8-5. Week 14, really late bye. I think this is a team, though, that isn't going to matter as much with as much youth that they have on the roster. Defensively, they have a lot of veterans, so they might have an issue with playing 13 weeks. But offensively, I think they're pretty young, so I don't think that'll hinder them as much. So what I have, 8-5 going into the bye there against the Dolphins. I think the Dolphins can get them. 8-6 at the Chiefs on a Saturday. 8-7 at home against the Ravens. That's a must-win game. 9-7. They beat the Titans in Tennessee week 18. They go 10-7 for the second straight year for me. 4-2 division record. Who wants to go next?
I can go next. I'll go up. Let's see. I agree with you when it comes to splitting with Indy, but I think they're actually going to start the season on the loss. I think Indianapolis is going to ambush them week 1. So 0-1, but they're going to turn around and win, I say, the next 4. They're going to beat Chicago. They're beating Minnesota, Jacksonville, Buffalo, actually make it next 5, and New England. They're 5-1. I agree they're not going to play well in Green Bay, 5-2. They're going to split with Indy, so 6-2. I think they're going to beat the Jets, 7-2. And I think they're going to beat the Lions, 8-2. But the back half of the season is going to be pretty difficult. I have them losing to Dallas 8-3. Tennessee, they're going to win 9-3. Lose to Jacksonville 9-4. Take the bye. Beat Miami 10-4. Lose, 10-3. Lose to Kansas City 10-4. No, wait, no, I did that wrong. They're going to lose to Kansas City to be 10.
They would be 10-5, yeah.
10-5, okay, and then lose to Baltimore 10-6, and then they're going to beat Tennessee. I think they're going to go 11-6. They're going to improve over last season, but not by a whole lot.
So I think they drop losses both to Indianapolis. I think Indianapolis is a better team. I think they have a better coach. And I think if Anthony Richardson is healthy, which is the key for Indianapolis, I think they're a better team overall. So 2 losses right there for the Texans. I have them taking a loss to the Chiefs. That's 3. Loss to the Jets. That's 4. Split with the Jags. That's 5. a loss to the Vikings and the Ravens, so 10-7.
Alrighty. And did you have them, what did you have them doing with the Jags? Because you had them sweeping Tennessee, right?
Sweep Tennessee, get swept by Indianapolis, and split with the Jacksonville Jaguars.
All right, so 3-3. Alrighty, let's go on to the Jags. It'll be interesting to see if that's good enough to win the division for us. Jimmy, you might be in a better position at 11-6 there. That's a solid one. To the Jags, who I think it was week 10 or something like that. They had like a 92% chance to win the division last year. And they just completely fell apart. Anyways, losses for Jacksonville. This was also kind of a big turnover offseason, I think, team. Wide receiver Calvin Ridley surprised a lot of people, signed with the Titans. Wide receiver Zay Jones went to the Cardinals. Edge rushers Kayvon Chason went to the Panthers, and Dwayne Smoot went to the Bills. Defensive tackle Angelo Blackson went to the Broncos. Corner Darius Williams to the Rams. Safety Rayshon Jenkins to the Seahawks. And there were 2 kicker losses technically this offseason for Jacksonville. They lost kicker Brandon McManus went to the Commanders, and kicker Joey Sly to the Patriots. They actually also added Joey Sly, but then lost him as well because they signed him in March from Washington. And then the draft happened, and then they released him, and he went to the Patriots. So, yeah, anyone have anything on the losses? Big Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, I think losing Ridley is going to be rough, but I think you look at that contract that Tennessee gave him, and you kind of go, okay, I don't know how comfortable we would have been giving him that contract at his age. I mean, he was extremely efficient when they played him correctly. Jacksonville just didn't play him correctly all year. But again, it's just that contract. I think Jacksonville doesn't care too much about missing out on that contract that Calvin Ridley got.
Yeah, I think $90 million was overkill for a 29-year-old receiver that is kind of slowing down a little bit. It looked like he lost a gear in Jacksonville, and he was having a lot of catching problems. I think to win the division or go to the playoffs, he dropped the game-winning touchdown. I forget who it was against, but like the last minute of the game. And it was evident all year he was kind of not catching balls that would have been touchdowns or would have been big plays for Jacksonville, and it hurt them more than they would have liked to give him $90 million for.
Yeah. I mean, I think one thing I saw, though, in the free agent losses was veterans. They went with the youth strategy, and I don't really fault them at the wide receiver position with Ridley and Jones being up there in age. What I do think is going to be one thing to watch for Jacksonville is the kicker position this year. Brandon McManus is one of the best kickers in the league, I think, anyways, especially long ball wise. I don't know if it was the right strategy to cut him and then go with Cam Little here, but we'll see. Obviously, McManus has had that legal issue that the Commanders are working through, but I don't know. I think I would have kept him instead. Anyways. Addition-wise, they traded for quarterback Mac Jones from the Patriots, signed wide receivers Gabriel Davis from the Bills, Devin Duvernay from the Ravens, and drafted wide receiver Brian Thomas Jr. in the first round, 23rd. Tight end Josiah DeGuara from the Packers, center Mitch Morse from the Bills, defensive tackle Eric Armstead from the 49ers, drafted edge rusher Miles Cole in the 7th round, 236th. Corner Ronald Darby they got from the Ravens, safeties Darnell Savage from the Packers and Terrell Edmonds from the Titans, and of course, like I said, drafted Cam Little, the kicker, 6th round, 212 overall. But yeah, I enjoyed what Jacksonville did this offseason. Thought they overpaid for Gabe Davis for sure. I think Devin Duvernay is going to be an under the radar signing as the new kickoff rules come into effect. I think he's going to help out a lot in that aspect. Also, I think he will help out not having Christian Kirk have to return as many punts. I know he's really good at it, but that's kind of why they drafted Parker Washington as well. Brian Thomas, absolutely love Brian Thomas. Like I told Jimmy, though, unfortunately, I didn't love him enough to draft him in my Dynasty League draft. We'll see, though. I got 2 coming up tomorrow that start tomorrow, email drafts. So we'll see. I have 4th overall in one of them. So I don't know.
I drafted him.
What?
I drafted him.
The interior guys, love those signings. I know Mitch Morse is up there in age. Eric Armstead is as well. But I thought those were 2 home run signings on the interior there. Wasn't a big fan of the secondary signings, but they're hoping for a big step this year from some of their younger guys, as well as 5th rounder DeAndre Prince. Anyone else? Anyone want to talk Mac Jones?
The greatest backup QB in the league until Sam Darnold gets replaced.
Hey man, they still got the Iowan. CJ Beathard is still on the roster.
Ah, my guy.
All right, let's go to the schedule here for Jacksonville. It does not start off very well. At the Dolphins, I have that as a loss. At home against the Browns, that's a toss-up, Jimmy. I don't know. I might have to flip a coin for that one. But I'll give it to Cleveland. I think they win it with defense in that one, even though it is in Jacksonville. It's going to be hot for the Browns to come down there in September. Dang, I didn't realize they get two Florida games there early. It's going to be scorching. At the Bills on Monday Night Football, I don't know. Gabe Davis revenge game? Is that what we're going with on that one?
The only narrative I can think of.
0-4. And they're gonna lose that one in Houston. They do get a win against the Colts. And of course they're gonna win the next 2 because they're at home. I don't care if it says at Chicago. The London is their hometown, so they're gonna win both London games and try to salvage their season at 3-4. They're gonna lose to Green Bay. So 3-5. They're gonna lose in Philly on Sunday night. That is a 3-6 start. They're gonna get a win against your Vikings though. 4-6. Lose in Detroit, 4-7 into the bye. And I know it's only year 3 for Dougie P, but I think it might be getting a little hot. He might start sweating at 4-7 going into the bye. But it is a decent schedule after the bye, though. I had them splitting with Houston, so they win that one, get to 5-7. I just do not believe in the Titans at all, so I'm going to have them get swept by the whole division. So 6-7 there. I think I like the Jets this year, so 6-8. They're going to beat the Raiders 7-8. Beat the Titans 8-8. Unfortunately, they're going to go into Indianapolis and split. So they lose that one 8-9. 4-2 division wise. Who's up next?
Cole, I'll let you take this one.
All right. So I see a split completely division wise, so 3-3. Losses to Philly, the Packers, Detroit. I see them losing to the Browns and the Dolphins. So I think that's 9-8 or 8-9, whichever one.
Yeah,
I think that's 9-8.
Yeah.
You guys are higher up on Jags than I am. I'm not a big believer.
Oh my God.
I'm really not a big believer in Jacksonville. I think this is going to be the last year of the Peterson show down there because they're going to start off that season 0-4. They're going to lose to Miami, Cleveland, Buffalo, and Houston. They're going to take one from Indy. They're going to win both London games, so 3-4. Lose to Green Bay, Philadelphia, Minnesota, and Detroit. Yeah, another 4-game losing streak. So now 3-8. They're going to go into the bye. I think that's the point where Doug might get fired. They're going to lose to Houston 3-9, beat Tennessee 4-9, lose to Jackson, New York. Where was I?
4-10.
4-10. Beat Las Vegas 5-10. Beat Tennessee 6-10. Lose Indianapolis 6-11. I'm not a big believer in Jacksonville.
All right, so you had split the Colts, and that was the only one?
Split the Colts. I think I had them sweeping Tennessee. Yeah, so I have them 3-3 in division.
Oh, you are getting swept by Houston?
Yeah, they're swept by Houston, split with Indy, sweep Tennessee.
Okay. That's interesting.
I'm not a believer in Jacksonville. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just organizational, just history, and just I have a tough time believing in what they have. Trevor Lawrence has to play like the first overall pick he was expected to be, or else a lot of questions are going to be asked about that contract.
Well, I think that, I always wait till the second team to do this, but when you look at who they're playing this year, it is also another division where it is difficult. Mm-hmm. They play the AFC East, so you got Miami and Buffalo, who you know are going to be tough. The Jets, which I think are going to be good this year. And then they have to play the NFC North, which means you're going to get the Lions and the Packers. And we don't know what the Bears – the Bears have a good roster. It's just we don't know what Caleb Williams is going to be. So who knows? The Bears might shock us and beat some of these teams here. And then their cross-division games, they have the NFC East, which does not bode well for Jacksonville, having to get the Eagles in Philly on Sunday Night Football. Yeah. They also play the AFC West, which makes it tough on Houston. Is really the only one. And the Chiefs. Obviously, we don't know what the Broncos are going to look like with potentially Bo Nix as the starter there, and we'll see what Harbaugh can do in LA in his first season. And then also they get the AFC North as their third cross-division game, which we know all four of those teams are tough. So, yeah. All right. To the Indianapolis Colts here. They finished 9-8, just like the Jags last year. Both teams losing out on the 7 seed slightly. Losses for Indy, not a lot. They really did not do a lot of free agent either losing or signing. They re-signed most of their own guys. That was really what Indy did this year. But they lost quarterback Gardner Minshew to the Raiders, running back Zach Moss to the Bengals, and wide receiver Isaiah McKenzie to the Giants. Don't think they're going to miss any of those guys. Additions-wise, it was mostly draft picks. They signed quarterback Joe Flacco, which, Jimmy, when we were talking to the AFC North, you mentioned that's probably why the Browns let Flacco leave, because he didn't fit the same style of Deshaun Watson. And then he goes to Indy, where it is night and day with him and Anthony Richardson style-wise.
Yeah, I thought that was super interesting. I thought it was more just a Browns philosophy thing with backups and Flacco wanting to be there. But yeah, it's pretty funny. He basically goes from a team with a quarterback that's mobile and likes to move out of the pocket to a team with a quarterback that's mobile and likes to move out of the pocket.
Yeah. And I mean, if it's anything like last year, we'll see Joe Flacco in about week 5.
Oh, yeah. And hey, I mean, if that's a situation, I would take Joe Flacco over Gardner Minshew. Like,
oh, yeah.
Flacco showed a lot last season.
Well, if he can do what he did last year.
We'll see.
But yeah, that was their only major free agent addition. And then draft-wise, guys that I thought could possibly be contributors. Wide receivers Adonai Mitchell in the second round, 52nd. Wide receiver Anthony Gold, 5th round, 142nd. He's going to be another guy that I'm looking at for the new kickoff rules. Center Tanner Bortolini, 4th round, 117th. Love him for the future at center. And if Ryan Kelly would get hurt. Edge rusher Laiatu Latu, 1st round, 15th overall. Of course, that was one of the big things they needed was edge rush, and Latu hopefully will quash the medical concerns that some teams had. And then safety Jalen Simpson, 5th round, 164th overall at Auburn. Ball hawking guy there. Interestingly enough, they have him at corner behind Juju Brents. I really liked him at safety, but I think he's good enough to play anywhere. So, but yeah, it's pretty much what we talked about during our draft recap for Indy on their additions wise. Okay, record wise here, let's go with the Texans in Indy week 1. That is a win, sure. At the Packers loss, they win against the Bears. They're going to lose against the Steelers, 2-2. Lose in Jacksonville, 2-3. Again, win in Tennessee, 3-3. They're going to lose against Miami. Lose in Houston, so that is 3-5. I don't know. It's in Minnesota. Again, Jimmy, I think I'm going to give him a win. I think we give the Vikes a win there. 3-6. This is a tough. They're going to lose the next 3 at home against the Bills, at the Jets on Sunday night, at home against the Lions. So they are sitting at 3-9. Like, they're done already. It gets better. Like, at the Patriots, they'll win 4-9. Bye week very late, week 14, just like the Texans. They win in Denver, 5-9. Win against the Titans, 6-9. Win at the Giants, 7-9. 8-9 for the Colts. They win against the Jags. Same thing, though. I have 4-2 division record for Jags, Texans, and Colts.
All right. Well, I can go next. I'm in a little bit of disagreement with you. I think I mentioned in a previous podcast. I kind of see the Colts this year as the Houston Texans of last year, a team that kind of surprises a lot of people. I don't know if they would take this division over the Texans, but I definitely feel highly about them. They didn't lose anybody of massive importance in the offseason. They drafted, in my opinion, extremely well. So I think they're going to be very solid. And I mentioned they're going to ambush Houston week 1, but they're going to lose in Green Bay 1-1. They're going to beat Chicago, and they're going to. I think I had them beating Pittsburgh, so 3-1 there. They're losing in Jacksonville 3-2, but they're beating Tennessee 4-2, losing to Miami 4-3, losing to Houston 4-4, but beating Minnesota 5-4. I think they beat Buffalo 6-4. I even have them beating the Jets 7-4, but losing to Detroit 7-5, beating New England 8-5, go on the bye, come back, beat Denver 9-5, beat Tennessee 10-5. You know what? 12-5. I'm gonna go bold and say they're gonna really go on a run. I think that final stretch from week 13 to 18 is very, very Colt friendly, and I think they can sneak wins against teams like Buffalo. I think they're going to surprise a lot of people. I could see them winning division. But I could also see them dropping games to teams I've mentioned, them winning. I could see them losing to the Buffalo Bills week 10. I could see them losing to who else? I could see them losing to Tennessee on the road. But yeah, I'm pretty high on the Colts this year.
Yeah, middle of the season is just that is tough.
Yeah, from week 7 to 12, it's pretty rough. But week 13 to 18, with the bye week included, that's a good place to be. Like, your toughest team at that point in the season will probably be Jacksonville at home. That's a pretty good place to be.
That's when I'm trading for Jonathan Taylor right before the fantasy playoffs. Go ahead, Cole.
I thought it was going to be a little bit of my hot take to have them 12-5 too, but I guess not.
Let's go.
Yeah, I'm really high on them. I mean, best in my opinion, best coach in the division, best defensive line in the division, potentially on potential wise, best quarterback in the division, best running back in the division. They're super stacked, and I think they have everyone right now. I'm 4-2, sweeping the Texans, splitting with the Jags and the Titans. So 4-2 in division, and then only dropping losses to the Packers, the Lions, and the Jets.
All right. Yeah, I was never really high on Anthony Richardson, and I don't know. Their receivers have just not panned out per se. I mean, you got Josh Downs going into year 2. Big fan of A.D. Mitchell. The O-line is aging, and defensively, I'm not a believer, especially in the secondary. I know they're really young. Juju Brents played well as a rookie last year. So did Jalen Jones. Kenny Moore is probably one of the best slot players in the league, but the safeties, I feel like, leave something. And they had a lot of money this offseason. They spent it in-house. Not necessarily a bad thing, but I thought they might have gone and gotten some other players. Especially tight end-wise, I'm not a believer. Jelani Woods was very hyped his rookie year. Didn't do as great second year. So we'll see what year 3 has. All right. On to the final team here. Tennessee Titans, 6-11 last year. New head coach Brian Callahan. I absolutely loved what Rand Carthon did this offseason. New GM in Tennessee as well. The overhaul was pretty drastic. Losing running back Derrick Henry to the Ravens, offensive tackle Chris Hubbard to the 49ers, offensive tackle Andre Dillard to the Packers, center Aaron Brewer to the Dolphins, defense tackle Danico Autry to the Texans, linebacker Azeez Al-Shaair to the Texans, corner Sean Murphy-Bunting to the Cardinals, corner Christian Fulton to the Chargers, safety Kayvon Wallace to the Seahawks, safety Terrell Edmonds to the Jags. And most of it didn't really matter. Like, those players did not have good seasons last year for the majority of them, especially the offensive linemen. I think they're going to miss Aaron Brewer, but they got a good guy to replace him. The secondary losses I didn't think hurt at all. Really, it was just Derrick Henry, but we pretty much knew he was moving on. Up there in age now, he was never going to be or wanted to be on a rebuilding team when he's trying to chase championships at this point in his career. Additions-wise, this is where it gets crazy. They signed quarterback Mason Rudolph from the Steelers, running back Tony Pollard from the Cowboys, wide receiver Calvin Ridley from the Jags, wide receiver Tyler Boyd from the Bengals, tight end Nick Vannett from the Chargers, offensive tackle Sadiq Charles from the Commanders, drafted offensive tackle J.C. Latham, first round, 7th overall. Center Lloyd Cushenberry comes from the Broncos, defensive tackle Sebastian Joseph Day from the 49ers, drafted defensive tackle Tavondre Sweat, 2nd round, 38th. Linebacker Kenneth Murray comes in from the Chargers. They drafted linebacker Cedric Gray, 4th round, 106th. Signed corner Chidobe Awuzie from the Bengals. Traded for corner L'Jarius Sneed from the Chiefs. And they signed safety Jamal Adams from the Seahawks. So it's just, they got starters across the board in free agency. And I think really improved this team, especially on the defensive side of the ball, but offensively as well. I thought, like I said, the Aaron Brewer loss was fine because they got Cushenberry. They upgraded the wide receiver position with Ridley and Boyd. I think Boyd was a big get for Brian Callahan, knowing his offense already. He can help the rest of the wide receiver room learn. It's yet to be seen. Pollard, I'm not a big believer in. He had his chance to be the guy in Dallas, and I don't know. I didn't think it was that great. The offensive line, I still think, is a bit of a question mark on the right side. Sadiq Charles, I listed him as an offensive tackle, but they have him as a guard. And I think the right side is still a question mark, but from center and the left side, I think, is solidified now. And then, like I said, the secondary additions were awesome. Cheeto, L'Jarius, and Jamal Adams, we'll see, but yeah.
Yeah, I could speak on some of these additions as well. I see the Titans, they still definitely believe they're in a rebuild. I think you see a lot of starters, but you see a lot of guys that they're thinking a little bit long term with. They're thinking, some of these guys are going to be placeholders. Like, I see Jamal Adams, guys like Mason Rudolph, Tony Pollard, kind of like guys that you sign and go, all right, we need to fill out these positions. You may not be there once we are competing in a year or two, but guys that we will feel comfortable with, and maybe if we get a good offer at the trade deadline, we can flip them. But you see, they offered a lot of multi-year deals to multiple players because this is a long-term project, I think, for them. Like getting guys like Ridley, Boyd, Jerry Sneed in the trade. Like they see this long-term. And you look at the draft as well. These are long-term guys. as well when it comes to development. So when it comes to the additions, they got a lot of guys. A lot of guys are going to start. But I also see like about half of them are probably placeholders. Half of them are going to be long-term guys. So I like what they did, but I'm not expecting a ton when it comes to team improvement this coming season. Probably the next season, but this coming season, I'm not going to be blown away if like half of these guys next offseason probably aren't even here.
Mm-hmm.
I think they went out and they signed probably one of the better cornerback duos you could have gotten in free agency and through trade, and L'Jarius Sneed and Chidobe Awuzie, both top 10 at slot and outside corner. I like Amani Hooker back there at safety. I believe that's the Hooker twin that's still there. It might be Malik, whichever one's with. So it is Amani. I like him back there. Jamal Adams, I think, is more of a box player. Aging a little bit, losing gear. It's a flyer signing. I understand where they were coming from. I didn't love it. I don't love what he has to offer as a player at this point in time. I think they went out and I think Cedric Gray right now is probably one of the better linebackers they have on that roster. I think Kenneth Murray is kind of a cone. He can't cover well. He's an athlete in run defense, so you're kind of betting on potential there. I think they have one of the worst front sevens in the division, the AFC, and potentially all of football. I think Arden Key might be their best edge rusher, and you can't have that as an NFL franchise going into 2024.
Harold Landry.
Harold Landry is still there. But those two can't be your big guys going into 2024, in my opinion. I think the receiving core is aging. DeAndre Hopkins, Tyler Boyd, Calvin Ridley, they're all 28 plus, 29 plus. They're good for right now, but you also got to see what you have in Will Levis. I don't know how much he's going to offer you. He's really got to show you something more than what he did last season. The left side of the line is fantastic. Peter Skoronski, J.C. Latham is a terrifying duo to run behind. Tony Pollard, I think it's okay. I think they wasted unnecessary cap room on him, signing him to as big as a contract as they did. I think Tajay Spears would have been a better solution to run behind. But other than that, I see a half and half aging and young team, and it's going to really a lot depend on how well that front seven can step up and how well Will Levis steps up, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's my big question is as well. I just still not sold on Levis. But yeah, the running back one, dude, I really hope that Dylan Johnson can somehow make this team because I love Dylan Johnson, played excellently last year with Washington on their national championship run. Was good at Mississippi State before that as well. So anyways, to the schedule, it's literally not pretty. Sorry, Coach Callahan, but I just do not believe in Will Levis right now. I have the Tennessee Titans starting 0-7.
It's hard to disagree. I'm not even.
Well, I mean, look at the schedule, dude. Like it's not great.
It's a gauntlet from I would say like week 3 to week 8. You're like, oh
right. That's why I have them going 0-7. It's the two games that I think they could get at Chicago. It's Caleb Williams' first start, but he's at home. Like, I know it's tough to pick a rookie to win their first game, but I think Chicago has a better roster. So I'm going to give Chicago that one. And the Colts one, it's in Tennessee, but I have everyone sweeping the Titans this year. So, so that was going to be a loss for me anyways. They do win against the Patriots, though. Yep. Jimmy, I think we got the Patriots going about 0-17.
Patriots are going to be rough. I think my biggest fear with the Patriots is that they're so bad it might stunt Drake May's development. That's my biggest fear, is that they somehow.
You know what, though? Well, I had them going 3-14. I think you had 5-12. So
I had 5-12. Yeah.
I don't know where those wins are coming from because it seems like every other division that plays them, you have them losing. But that's why we're doing these in a vacuum because it doesn't match up. It does not match up.
It's not going to be perfect science. We're not doing this perfectly.
Right. Anyways, they're going to beat the Patriots. It's in Nashville. At the Chargers. No. Harbaugh's going to get them on that one. So that is 1-8. The Vikings, I think, can beat them. 1-9. At the Texans, that is a loss. I'm going to give them a win. They're going to go into Washington and win. I think that's an upset there. So 2-11 or 2-10. I mean, lose to the Jags at home. Lose to the Bengals at home. It's a Brian Callahan revenge game, but Cincinnati's still too good. And they're going to lose the next 3 as well because I have them getting swept in the division at the Colts, at the Jags, against the Texans at home. So I believe that means 2-15 for me.
Congrats on the first overall pick.
0-6 division. Well, there you go. Carson Beck, new quarterback for the Tennessee Titans. Well, I don't know. A lot of people will hate that because he just got surpassed in the Heisman favorite by one Mr. Dylan Gabriel. So him and Quinn Ewers got jumped.
Ooh. We'll see.
I mean, so whoever wants to go, it really cannot get much worse than what I just did to the Tennessee Titans. So
I'll take it. So I'm not even going to count the losses. I'm just going to count the wins. I have them splitting with Jacksonville and Houston. And I think the only 2 wins that come out of this schedule are Chicago and Washington. It just historically, the first overall pick has never won their first game. I think it's either happened once or never at all. And I think that continues. Washington, I don't love their roster. I don't love Jaden Daniels. I never did coming out. He was my QB 4 or 5. Their defense is suspect. Everything about their offensive line is still suspect. I think Washington you can write off as a win for Tennessee. But other than that, it's not going to be too pretty in their contention for one of Carson Beck, Luther Bird, and Ted McMillan, Connor Weigman, or whoever the Heisman winner quarterback might be.
Yeah, 4-13, 2-4. Nice.
Nice. I have them doing something that I don't think has ever statistically happened. They are going to beat the first, second, and third overall picks in this season. They're going to beat the Bears. They're going to beat Washington. They're going to beat New England. And where else do I see them sneaking a win? I'm going to see them. They're going to sneak a win. I feel like they're going to sneak a win or two. And my pick for sneak win is Week 10 against Chargers. I'm still very up in the air about the Chargers. I like the Harbaugh signing, and I like what they did in the draft in the offseason. But I think Chargers are kind of in a similar situation with the Tennessee Titans. They're kind of bottoming out around Herbert to kind of reset the salary cap and reset the roster and kind of build in Harbaugh's image, and there's going to be growing pains. So I can see them sneaking that one. So they're gonna do the 1, 2, 3 gauntlet and take that, and then I think they're gonna sneak Chargers, maybe Minnesota. I'm super up in the air about Minnesota, but I'm gonna go 4-13.
Okay, so I was gonna say, did you have any division wins?
I don't think I did when we were doing the other 3 teams.
Yeah,
I didn't have the only team I could see them beating is Jacksonville. And I don't even think I had Jacksonville losing to them.
I agree, and it'd be in Nashville.
Yeah, I was about to say Week 14 would be that pick for the division win.
But what I would say is that they don't have Derrick Henry anymore, and Derrick Henry was the one that always just annihilated them in Tennessee.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, get Settle in, Titans fans. Settle in.
Hey, your rebuild's going well.
You might stop watching after the bye week, but
yeah. I mean, I will say that rebuild's going well. I think they've started off pretty smartly. The only thing I don't love is the Calvin Ridley signing, but you got him for multiple years, so you're thinking he can be a long-term guy. He can be the wide receiver for either Will Levis if he develops into the guy you hope for, or the guy you draft to be the franchise quarterback. So yeah, strap in. It's going to be tough, but you'd rather if you're a rebuilding team and you're a bad team, you'd much rather go like 4-13 than 7-10. You'd much rather feel like you're in the top 3 in the draft than top 10.
That's where I was gonna actually go, Jimmy. This is the time to do it. Mm-hmm. Like, they need to get the quarterback. I do not think they have the quarterback on the roster. They've spent consecutive day 2 picks with Will Levis last year, Malik Willis the year before that in the second and third rounds, and they just weren't the guy. This is the season that they need to have. It sucks. Obviously you want to win. You want to win every game. But I think this is the year that it has to be bad in Tennessee in order for the future to be good and to get one of the top quarterbacks next year. And then I think you're going to see a Chicago-style kind of thing going on because they're going to have this roster, right? They're going to have some weapons around the young guy. Granted, older, as Cole mentioned, but still, they're going to have some veteran guys that still have some stuff left. And if they can get the right side of the O-line figured out, and I think, the running back situation, I don't think is going to work too well. Tajay Spears and Tony Pollard seem like the same player to me. But yeah, I think this is the year to have a bad season for Tennessee, especially then you're going to look at, all right, well, 2025, Brian Callahan and Ran Carthon are going to be in year 2 at their positions. They're finally going to be able to get their guy that they want and build the rest of the roster out defensively as well.
Yeah. And I'm a big Chicago Blackhawks fan, and I mean, we were second to last and third to last in the league the last 2 seasons. And I always talk to Blackhawks fans like, if you want to do a rebuild right, you just gotta suck. You just gotta. You have to have years where it's hard to watch games, where you're just frustrated beyond belief, and you don't look forward to watching games. Well, these are the years where once you start competing, once you start really becoming a division contender, a conference contender, maybe even Super Bowl contender, you can look back and be like, yeah, I stuck through those tough years. I got, I get to brag. I'm not one of those, front running losers. I'm the guy that sat through those 3-14, 4-13 seasons, and I get to, I get the benefit from sticking with this team through the thinnest, and now we're here getting the reward.
Yeah. I had something in my head, but I forgot what it was. Anyways, so let's just do a recap here. Jimmy, you and Cole have the Indianapolis Colts winning the AFC South at 12-5, 4-2 division record. I have the Houston Texans repeating at 10-7, 4-2 as well in division. You guys both have them second, 11-6 for you, Jimmy, 4-2 division record. Cole had the Texans at 10-7, 3-3. I'll go with the Jags in second because I don't know what the tiebreakers would be. I have them splitting with the Colts, so they're both 8-9. They're both 4-2 in the division. I don't know what the next tiebreaker is.
Yeah,
conference record, but I don't remember who I picked for each, and I'm not going to go back real quick. So I'm going to say the Jags are second place for me at 8-9, 4-2 in the division. And then third place, you guys both had the Jags. Cole was the highest on the Jags, 9-8, 3-3. And Jimmy, you were the lowest, 6-11, 3-3 as well. And we all had the Tennessee Titans at the last place. I had the Colts third, 8-9, 4-2. Tennessee Titans last place. You guys had matching 4-13 records. Cole's the only one that gave Tennessee a chance in the division. 2-4 division record. And Jimmy 0-6, just like I had them, but I had them going 2-15, 0-6 in division. And probably getting the number 1 overall pick, potentially.
Hey, congrats to them.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're at the freezing stage. Cole, this is what happens. This is what happens when you get too long into the show.
Yeah, you get to the hour mark and you just start praying.
Yeah, my computer is pretty shitty, so it's
Donate, fans, and he could finally buy a computer that doesn't get itself in an hour of show.
Someone would hire me. I'd had the salary to.
Someone please hire us, for God's sake.
That would be nice. That's one of my negotiation tactics, actually. I need a $5,000 signing bonus so I can buy a computer and pay off my credit card. Anyways, that is the show for today. Next week we'll be back, training camp week 3. Oh, I forgot. I know I'm frozen, but I forgot. You guys didn't notice what jersey I was wearing today. I didn't have any AFC South jerseys, so I was like, well, who do I have that played in the AFC South? And I was like, well, I do remember one guy. Didn't last very long. But I had my Black Eagles Carson Wentz jersey on. Indianapolis Colts legend. He's the one that's gonna win the Chiefs a Super Bowl again this year, right?
Absolutely.
Anyways, yeah, next week, training camp week 3. We'll continue our season preview series doing the AFC West. Good segue there, talking about the Chiefs. AFC West is on Monday. We're going to the NFC side. On Friday, we'll do the NFC East, my division. So that'll be very intriguing to see what we think of the Giants, who have been on the Hard Knocks off-season edition, as well as we got contract disputes in Dallas with CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott. And, of course, we'll see what we think about the upstart Washington Commanders with new head coach Dan Quinn and new quarterback Jaden Daniels. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media at FAA Podcast and Instagram and X, FAA Podcast. .com is our website. You can check us out here on YouTube, Facebook, X, and Instagram, as well as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio. And we will see y'all back on Monday. I'm hoping the stream ended. Does it say ended? Does it say not live?
It's still live.
Okay, cool.
I will hop off. Maybe that one. Have a good one.
Yeah, I'll just have to exit out, but appreciate it.